if this sensor fails on your modern day BMW, it could cost you an engine. Hey, this is Bryan. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. One of the most annoying things about modern day BMWs is that the engines no longer contain regular oil dipsticks. You see, around 2007 or so, BMW switched over to an electronic system which allows you to check your oil level from inside the car. Let's jump in my car and I'll show you what that looks like. So to check your oil level, what you need to do is jump into your iDrive. This is in an F80 M3. You go to Vehicle Info, Vehicle Status, and then over here, we can check our oil level. However, as you can see, right now, my car is dead cold because we haven't even started it yet today. So with that said, we have to get the car up to operating temperature, which is going to take a couple minutes, and then you can start your measurement, which takes about 1 to 2 minutes. Now, while this seems like a really good idea for people who don't want to get their hands dirty, if you work on your car, it's a huge pain in the butt. Let's talk about why. Let's start with scenario number 1. You and your best friend Ned just installed some really cool car parts on the car, which involved removing some oil lines, and you spilled some oil. The good news is you caught it in your oil containment system. However, your buddy Ned is subject to telling fish stories, and you don't know if he spilled a cup of oil or a gallon of oil, and you don't want to start your car because you don't know if the oil level is too low. Now, if you had a dipstick, you could just pull it out, check the oil level, make any adjustments, top it off, and call it a day. But with an electronic system, it's not so easy. And that's because, as we said earlier, you have to get in the car, you have to start the car, you have to let it run until it's up to operating temperatures. And if you're doing some mods, chances are the motor is dead cold because you don't like third-degree burns. So at that point, it's not even really an option, because if you did lose a gallon or half your oil or even 2 liters or quarts, it's not really good, and you could seize your motor depending on how much you lost. So that's not really an option. The only option is really to just drain the rest of the oil and then fill it up with fresh. Now, if it was time for an oil change, maybe that's a great thing, but maybe you changed your oil last week and you just spent 60 bucks on synthetic oil. Well, that's 60 bucks down the tube, all because there wasn't a 99-cent dipstick in the engine bay of your BMW. And then there's scenario 2, which is the reason why my F80 M3 is on the lift today. That's because I was driving along and I got a notification, bing, where it said your oil is low. You need to add a quart immediately, which kind of freaks you out when you see it. Now, luckily I had a quart in the trunk, so I topped it off and I drove on home. Then the next day, I started up the car and bing, oil low. So I'm looking under the car like, there's no oil anywhere. What the heck is going on? And I put the extra quart of oil in, and I start the car up and it says bing, so I shut the car off because it said I was a quart low again, a third time. So I put the car on the lift. Now, thank goodness I didn't actually drive very far. And I put the car up in the air. Then what I did is I caught the oil in a separate pan because I was starting to have trust issues with my F80 M3, and lo and behold, I had 9 quarts of oil in. Now, what does it mean when you have 9 quarts of oil? It means you have way too much. And what does that mean? That means you can do things like bend rods and destroy your motor from having too much oil in. Now, on the flip side, if your sensor fails and it doesn't tell you that you're running out of oil, and you run out of oil because maybe the mechanic that you took your car to didn't put your drain plug in all the way, well, you can run into an oil starvation issue and also destroy your motor. However, that is far less likely to happen. If you have this sensor fail, typically it's going to say you're a quart low, you're going to add oil, and it's going to say you're a quart low. So basically it's going to do exactly what I'm going through today, but don't worry, because today we're going to show you how to fix it. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say, if you see this alert in your car, it does not mean that your sensor's bad. You might genuinely need a quart of oil. What I would recommend doing is, if you see the alert, just take a look under your car. See if you have any evidence of any kind of leaks or things like that. Take into consideration how many miles you have on your car. If you have 200,000 miles on your car, it might be burning a little bit of oil. Or if you are heavily modified, you have big turbos, you have port injection, you're on an E85 and 700 horsepower, you might be burning oil. So you have to take a lot of these things into consideration. However, if you get it twice in the row, back to back or something like that, something is probably wrong. All right, so now that you know the background of what the issue is with my car, in today's video, I'm gonna show you step by step how to change out your oil level sensor in an F80 M3. And if you're interested in this part, be sure to see the link down in the description. All right, so let's first take a look at the part. So this is the part. Again, we're gonna have a link for you down in the description below. It's going to go in your oil pan and it just pops right up. I'm going to show you on the engine on my stand, and then we're going to put the car up and I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do it. One thing I do want to note is there's this little white cap thing on here. Don't take it off. It's part of the sensor. If you take this off, you will damage the sensor. So take it out of the bag. It's going to look just like this. It has a gasket pre-installed, and that's all you need. If you want to replace the bolts, you can. I'm going to reuse the ones on the car. But with that, let's get started. All right, since I happen to have an S55 hanging around the shop today, let's talk about the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to put my car up in the air. We're going to pull down the stiffening plate. That's that big chunk of metal underneath your car. We're going to drain the oil over here. And then this is your level sensor. You just take off these 3 nuts, disconnect it, pull it out, pop the new one in, torque everything back down. I'll go through all the torque specs in the video. Plug it back in and you're good. There's no programming or anything else you need to do. All you need to do is just put the rest of your car back together, fill it up with oil, and you're good. Now, as I stated, we are going to need to drain the oil. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is just take your oil cap, and then I like to just pop it off just like that so that some airflow can get in. So when we go to drain the oil, it's gonna come out nice and smooth. Once you've done that, you can securely put the car in the air. Now, because I'm videoing today, it's a lot easier for me to film and just use the lift and just put the car up, and it's gonna make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. Now, if you're doing this at home, you're probably just going to use a jack and jack stands or maybe something like race ramps. They're gonna make it super convenient for you. So with that, let me put the car up in the air. All right, let's dive into removing the stiffening plate. Before I do so, check that out. I annihilated my skid plate here, which protected my Mishimoto cooler. So very grateful for that. What I need to do is I need to remove all of these 8 mils around the perimeter here. Then once you've removed all of the 8 millimeters around the perimeter, you're going to remove all of the 16s and then carefully lower down your stiffening plate. Once you've done that, take a 17 and loosen your drain bolt. And then from there, what you can do is you can measure how much oil is coming out. So as you can see, I'm not just dumping it into my giant vat. I am dumping it into this container because this is significantly easier to see how much oil I actually had in the car. Now, I have changed it since I had that little issue. So this should be the correct amount, but we shall see. Once you're done draining, make sure that you replace your crush washer. And we're gonna put this back up here, and then this gets torqued down to 24.9 Newton meters. Okay. Next, you need to remove this sensor. There's a little tab on either side. What I found works best is if you press on the tabs and take a screwdriver, a flathead, and try to maneuver it out a little bit. It definitely helps because otherwise it's really, really tight. Go. Okay, so that pops off just like that. And then I'm gonna tuck it up here so that when I pull this out, it doesn't get all oily. At this time, remove these 10 mils, don't drop them into your oil, and then lower this down and just be aware that you may get some oil drippage, so make sure you have a pan under it. Okay, so we'll remove these, and they're not very tight at all. Once you've done that, take your sensor, move it straight down. Again, you are gonna get some oil leakage out of this thing. And then your old sensor's out. Then what you can do is take your new sensor, just take a little oil, preferably clean oil, and put it around your little sealing ring, and then put it back up exactly the way that we removed the other one. Make sure that your connection is facing the front like that. And then I checked ISTA and it says 4 Newton meters and then 100 degrees of rotation. Make sure you do it super even. All right, good. And then once you've done that, you can take your plug, swing it around, make sure it's all the way plugged in. Okay, just like that. All right, so what we need to do is we need to take that stiffening plate and we need to reinstall it. The bolts on there get torqued, the big ones obviously, not the 8 mils. The big ones get torqued down to 56 Newton meters, and then take it an extra 90 degrees of rotation, and then those will be rock solid. Throw all those 8 mils on, and then you can lower your car down. Now, because it's not very exciting, I'm just gonna do it off camera, and I'll meet you up top to fill it back with oil. All right, once you've done that, I would highly recommend just changing your filter since everything else is done. We're just trying to give you high level here. And then what we're gonna do, we're going to put 6.5 liters of oil. I'm gonna use the Liqui Moly 5W40 in here. Then once we've done that, the job is done. All we need to do is reset the computer to let it know that we gave it an oil change. And then from there, our sensor's fully installed. All right, moment of truth. All right. All right, so at this point in the process, once you've changed out your filter, reset the light in your car. If you're not sure how to do that, we'll put a video for you down in the description below. You are done. There's no other programming and you are good to go. And now you can rest assured that your oil level sensor is going to be spot on, hopefully for the rest of your car's life. So once again, my name is Brian. Thanks so much for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com for the parts and tools we used in today's video. We're gonna link them for you conveniently down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.